Dynamite! How's it going, all you guys and girls in the Illumination? Time to jump aboard the Loom Train. It's me, it's JJD. JJ Double J, the Illuminator here, the sweet one. Also known by almost countless other aliases and nicknames, but we won't get into that right now. I was thinking today when I was in junior high school, as we still called it junior high school back then. Today's kids call it middle school. We didn't call it middle school back then. I don't even know if the term was around. I could be wrong. But I don't know if this is everywhere. Probably not. But it always seems to me, or seemed to me, still does, that every principal we had was a great guy, no matter what school I was in. And all of the vice principals, the assistant principals, we called them vice principals back then, maybe they still do, they were all jerks. Now, I had in junior high, the principal was named Mr. Smith. Now, Mr. Smith was one of the greatest guys around. He'd be the type of guy that nowadays you'd be high-fiving in the hallway. You know, we respected him. We weren't afraid of him, but we respected him, so we behaved for him. The other guy, Mr. Wilcox, on the other hand, the vice principal, he was a total douchebag, and excuse my language. He was the type that you'd want to go, and light a firecracker, light a firecracker in the crack of his butt. We hated him, and he was just a total jerk. Not even in a good way, not even in a way where we felt like he was doing it for our best interest. He seemed like he didn't like kids. Why he would even be in that position? Because around here, most principals were teachers first. I don't think I ever knew a principal that didn't teach first. It's almost like they move up the ladder. I can't see this guy, Mr. Wilcox, ever being a teacher. He just was. He thought he was better than everyone, and he was just a total. He was the exact opposite of Mr. Smith. I saw Mr. Smith years later. Now I wonder how many years later? About 8 years after that. No, it had to be longer than that because I was 22. I was working in retail at a very small very small place. And I was working retail. It was like a hardware store, a small chain that we have around here that went out of business years ago. But there was a small chain around here, had 5 or 6 in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And I was working there, and I saw Mr. Smith. And this is, goodness, I was 22, so you figure, so about 9 years after I left junior high school. Anyway, he looked exactly the same. And of course, I was older and everything. I said, Mr. Smith, you probably don't remember me, Introduced myself to him and all that. And he didn't, which of course, I was one kid out of hundreds, 9 years ago. But the thing was, he had told me that he had just retired and they forced him out. He said it was a long story, but, I guess he was too nice a guy. And, to be forced out over something that you deserve, something happened and there was some type of a cover-up or, you were stealing or something. But to be forced out because they want a jerk in that position and you're not, it didn't surprise me that this would happen because he was a nice guy. But he was a guy that we respected enough to follow and to listen to. It's not that he was a wimp or anything, and he wasn't like, Monk or Pee Wee Herman or something. He was a guy that looked like he could be a coach if he wanted to. He was, athletic enough that, a shorter guy, but he was, we didn't challenge him and there was no need to. We just respected him by the way he held himself accountable and all that. I don't know. But all those years later to see him again, it was great. Now, of course, that's going back 25, 26 years ago almost. But I was thinking of that today. Have you ever had an instance, is what my question for today is. Have you ever had an instance where you had a teacher that you had and years later you saw them? That's your homework. Put your comments below. I'm off to the races. I love you all. Take care. Stay safe. This is the Illuminator, and I'll be back.
These are not my colors.